For those of you who don't know, masklophobia is the fear of people in masks and costumes, and in this case, Disney characters specifically. Today, we'll be focusing on the creepiest characters that appeared at Disney parks and special events. Bruce, the famous wannabe vegetarian shark, could not be left out of this list. Fun fact, this shark owes his name to one of Fastpass Fact's favorite sharks out there, the Jaws shark, Bruce, which in turn owes its own name to Steven Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce. Bruce has never been a meet and greet character because, let's be honest, how would that even work? But he has appeared in animatronic form on the Walt Disney Studios ride Crush Coaster in Disneyland Paris and in the Finding Nemo musical at Walt Disney World. However, the shark's most terrifying appearance occurred in the Disney on Ice 100 Years of Magic show. In that show, Bruce was designed in a more photorealistic way instead of a typical animated design. And the worst part of all is that he was made to be life-size. The suit was handled by two skaters, and the character's appearance is terrifying. During this show, we can also see Marlin, Nemo, and Dory, and they're also pretty scary. We're not sure why they decided to use these types of costumes instead of more friendly-looking puppets. This Bruce is without a doubt one of the creepiest things we've seen on a Disney show. Minnie Mouse. You see, in 1933, the McCall Pattern Company issued the patterns for the child's fancy dress costume for Halloween. These costumes were made for children and adults alike, and were based on the original Charlotte Clark Minnie dolls. But they honestly look like they were based on our nightmares. These costumes were utterly terrifying. They had different elements like the skirt, the leotard, the gloves, and the scary mask. They also had a Minnie Mouse patch. These pictures of children and adults wearing the costumes are horrifying. And if they appear scary to everyone, we can't imagine how creepy people with masklophobia find them. The company also released costumes of other characters like Mickey, Donald, Clarabelle, the Big Bad Wolf, and Horace. The costumes were very popular in the 1930s, and throughout the time they were modified, but they never lost their creepy appearance. The McCall Pattern Company did an excellent job by accidentally creating the creepiest costume of the time, and perhaps of history. And this image of Minnie will always live in our nightmares. Jessica Rabbit. We talked about the worldwide event that Disney held back in 2013 called Disney Dreamers Everywhere. This event was a month-long worldwide journey to all of the Disney theme parks. A series of shows, meet and greets, and events took place at each park. And these guests were in for some really big surprises. It kicked off in Hong Kong and went to Tokyo, California, Florida, and ended at Disneyland Paris. Here, there was a show called Roger Rabbit's Dream Show. In this show, Roger Rabbit came bursting through the walls from Toontown to a set of a production to make his directorial debut. Roger started talking with his friend Eddie Valiant and asked him to bring the leading lady. And of course, the leading lady was Jessica Rabbit, making her first ever official appearance in the Disney parks. Jessica arrived in a dark red Cadillac Eldorado, and honestly, it is mind-blowing seeing a character arrive in a car. While it is awesome that Jessica Rabbit got to be a walk-around character at the park, the design they chose is not. The character is terrifying because instead of being a face character like she should be, or even using a traditional mask, she's wearing a type of morph suit. This makes her face look pretty weird and nothing like the real character. She also had real hair that seemed to be sculpted in place. After the show, guests were able to take pictures and even get autographs from the characters. Jessica Rabbit appeared again at Disneyland Paris for the park's 25th anniversary in 2017. Jessica was included in the 150 characters taking part in the anniversary, but she hasn't been seen again since then. Number 7. Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is probably everyone's favorite silly bear, and it was a huge must to have him at Disneyland greeting his fans. Unfortunately, as with many other characters, Winnie's first designs were a bit creepy, and in 1965, the first Winnie version came to the park. This first version was unrecognizable, with Winnie having a huge head, eyebrows, and brown eyes that looked red at times, making the character look terrifying. Also, the character's arms could not move, so the cast member inside the suit could only move Winnie's mouth. On top of the huge head, Winnie carried a big jar of honey that allowed the cast member to see where they were going. A year later, in 1966, Winnie's costume had a small change. The eyebrows changed from brown to black, but the rest remained the same. The costume didn't change again until 1989 when a long-awaited update was finally done to Pooh. He lost the huge head, got white eyes with black pupils, and had a smaller smile instead of a weird moving one. Also, the costume's proportions were much better, allowing the performer to have full control, especially the arms. This new design was very cute. After this, Pooh's design has received some slight changes, but we can all agree that red-eyed Pooh is the thing of nightmares.
Number 6.
Lampwick. Let's face it, we've all had a friend like Lampwick. A bad friend full of terrible advice who is a terrible influence. And while we can say that Lampwick is not a villain, he's also not a hero or even a good person. But he is disrespectful, laughs at all forms of authority, and prefers to engage in more crooked activities like drinking and vandalizing. That being said, he's probably one of the rarest characters at Disney parks. He might appear at Pinocchio's Daring Journey, but as a walk-around character, he is impossible to find. Lampwick has appeared just once at the parks as a meetable character. Back in 2013, Disney World held an event called Disney Dreamers Everywhere, Step into a Disney Story, where guests could meet lots of characters. One of these characters was surprisingly Lampwick. But honestly, this character looked terrifying. His face looks as if it came straight out of Pinocchio's worst nightmare. So much so that the character has not been seen again at all in the parks as a walk-around character. His only other appearance at the parks was at the Disneyland Main Street Electrical Parade, where he appears sporting donkey ears and a tail along with one of the stupid little boys. And speaking about them, they have also appeared at the celebrated Dreams Come True Parade at the Magic Kingdom, marching along with Honest John and Gideon, and they too are terrifying. Number 5. The Three Little Pigs. The Three Little Pigs was a huge success when it came out in 1933. The cartoon ran for months in theaters and won the 1934 Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film, and it's still considered the most successful animated short to date. Because of this, they were some of the characters that also appeared at the Walt Disney's Toy Shop segment of the Ice-Capades of 1950. These costumes were designed to be comfortable for the skater, but uncomfortable to the eye. The heads were designed after a real pig's head instead of a cartoon pig, which made them pretty creepy. Their lower jaws are articulated like a ventriloquist dummy. The suits were a simple build, but they were pretty tall. Their eyes focused varied between pig, one looking forwards, the other looking to the left, and the other to the right. And one of the pigs, Practical Pig, wore shorts. The shorts that he wore gave him the appearance that he was wearing diapers. These costumes were also borrowed for Disneyland's opening, and after opening day, Disneyland kept these costumes so they could roam the park and greet guests. This design of the pigs stayed until 1959 when Disney redesigned the costumes, with updated bodies and new heads. This made them much less creepy. The costumes didn't change again until 1961 when the characters' heads changed and were bigger. The pigs' expressions and clothing changed too. There have been some other changes to the pigs' costumes, but thankfully they haven't returned to being creepy. The sad thing is that they have become very rare, and you can mostly just see them at special events, or at Tokyo Disneyland sometimes.
Number 4.
Scar. Scar has had several appearances at the parks, like in animatronic form at parades or a walk-around character at shows. But one of the strangest appearances this character has had was during the Villains Tonight show at the Disney Caribbean Cruise. Here, Scar's design was pretty strange. He is seen wearing a type of helmet and a type of wannabe rock star outfit that does not fit the character at all. He is accompanied by Shenzi, Bonsai, and Ed, who also appear in a kind of human form. But surprisingly, this was not the worst design that has been presented by Scar. This next appearance left us speechless.
No! God, please, no! No!
It looks silly and creepy at the same time. This time, Scar appeared at the Disney on Ice World of Fantasy show. Here, Scar was presented wearing a type of morph suit with a bunch of accessories. Just look at this and judge for yourselves. In this show, Scar was also accompanied by the hyenas, but they honestly had better outfits. Little Bo Peep. Bo Peep has been such a relevant character in the past few years, thanks to Toy Story 4. This new life they gave to the character is fantastic, and we love where she ended up. Because of all this, Bo Peep has been redesigned to be at the parks again, but that doesn't mean that the new design is perfect. Some people find the character's mask pretty creepy, and it is a little bit, but if we look back, we can see that this new design is a big improvement from Bo Peep's earlier designs. Honestly, this character looks like one of Sid's experiments. Because the character is made out of fabric, Bo Peep looks like she is full of wrinkles. pure nightmare fuel. This character appeared at many Disney parks like Disneyland, Walt Disney World, and Disneyland Paris, and thankfully it was retired in 2018. Then, as we said before, she was redesigned, and the new character debuted in 2019. Again, some people consider this character to be pretty creepy, arguing that bringing this character to life in that way just doesn't work, and she should be a face character. Still, this is a huge improvement from the original one. Bo Peep is not a rare character nowadays, and you can easily find her meeting guests at Disney World and Disneyland. White Rabbit. One of the worst character designs that has ever come to Disney parks was the White Rabbit. The first time this character appeared was at the special opening parade of Disneyland and in the inauguration broadcast. This was a super creepy costume. So creepy, in fact, that it didn't appear again until 1958, when he came back during the inauguration of the Alice in Wonderland dark ride. And we can only guess that the inclusion of this character was an afterthought. The ride was inaugurated by none other than Walt, and he was accompanied by Alice, Minnie, and Mickey. The ceremony was going great until suddenly, a terrifying creature emerged from the ride's main tunnel. This creature was the White Rabbit. Only this design looked like it was taken from the depths of kids' nightmares. The costume was completely white, and the proportions were all wrong. The rabbit was as tall as an adult, and its mask was utterly terrifying. The worst thing about it is that you could see the cast member's head in the back of the costume. The ceremony ended when Walt, Alice, and this terrifying creature boarded the ride and disappeared into the tunnel. This was undoubtedly the worst version of any Disney character at the parks, but it was thankfully seen just a few times. And in 1967, the character's design completely changed, resembling the White Rabbit from the movie a little more, but having a big black nose and a flesh-toned face. It wasn't until 1996 when the rabbit changed again, resembling his animated counterpart completely. Wendell. This is a very controversial opinion, but many Country Bear Jamboree fans find the animatronics very creepy. And even if you don't, we can bet that you wouldn't like to be left alone in a dark room with Big Al's animatronic, or any of them for that matter. But if these animatronics seem scary to you, wait till you see this version of Wendell as a walk-around character. Wendell might not be the most common character at the parks, but he is also not that rare. He makes frequent appearances here and there in meet and greets and parades in most Disney parks. But his design is terrifying and pretty weird. One of his most famous appearances was at the Disneyland sing-along songs Disneyland Fun. His appearance has not changed much throughout the years, so the creepy factor still remains. According to you, the character is very creepy and appears to have had a cup too many of moonshine. Actually, you guys had a lot of things to say about this character. Because he's not rare, you might be lucky and run into him someday at the parks. Or not, depending on how you see it. Ursula. Ursula is one of the most represented villains at Disney parks. We could do a whole video on all the times she has appeared. From parade floats, animatronics, puppets, and shows, she has been at the parks frequently. Because of this, there have been many successes and failures with Ursula as a character in the parks. One of the worst failures was during the Disney on Ice Worlds of Fantasy show. Here, people could see Ursula wearing a huge suit with large tentacles. There is no doubt that the suit looks spectacular, but the problem here is definitely the mask, which unfortunately looks nothing like the character it is trying to represent, and actually makes Ursula look much more terrifying than she should. However, this is not the worst design Ursula has ever had. During the Mickey and His Magic Halloween Night show, Ursula made an appearance, but to everyone's surprise, this time she was a face character. The result speaks for itself. Ursula was represented with makeup and a rather weird, long and fluffy wig, and a sequin suit with tentacles. This costume was the worst design Ursula has ever had, and it has appeared more than once. She also appeared as a face character in the Villains Tonight show. Another terrifying version of this character appeared in the Dream Come True parade. This time, Ursula appeared in the villain float. The proportions of this character were awful. She had a giant head and a tiny body, right out of our nightmares. Sadly, she has never been featured as a meet and greet character for all her appearances at the parks, but one of the best versions of Ursula appeared back in 2016 at the Frightfully Fun parade. And you can still see her to this day when the parade runs during Halloween time at Disneyland. Zombie Cap. Now this is seriously scary. During October 17th's Oogie Boogie Bash, Disney gave us one of the biggest surprises ever when they debuted the first scary character at a Disney park. We're of course talking about Zombie Cap. This is probably the scariest character that ever existed at a Disney park, and we are so excited that Disney decided to take a chance and bring him to pose for pictures with guests. We were lucky enough to be attending the party that night, and we can say that it really took us by surprise to be seeing such a terrifying character at Avengers Campus. The character's design is so cool and terrifying at the same time, and paired with how he moves and the sound effects around him, it is such a scary and imposing experience. But why is he at the parks? Well, as many of you know, this version of Captain America was featured in episode 5 of What If on Disney+, which is based on the 2005 comic Marvel Zombies. In this episode, most of the world's population is turned into zombies, which does not exclude many of our favorite Avengers. Guest reactions to this character were so positive, and honestly, it is mind-blowing to think that Disney took this chance and gave us such a cool experience. We would love to see more of these types of characters at the parks. We really hope that Marvel Zombies take over Avengers Campus during Halloween time from now on. Which characters would you like to see in zombie form at the parks? Do you find these characters creepy or not so much? Which are the scariest characters you've ever met at the parks? Let us know in the comments.